Rick Rosen from WCCO TV, and it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend Ron Henderson, the Fitness King, presenting Motivation, one word to help change your life.
Welcome to Motivation. I'm Ron Henderson, aka the Fitness King. On today's show, I have the pleasure of having Robb Breding. He is a performance coach and business consultant. Welcome to Motivation,
Yeah.
Robb. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Ron.
This is exciting. Take a deep breath.
Okay.
This is what we do before we
I'm
do
ready.
these shows.
I'm ready.
Let it out, because you have a wealth of information that I want you to share with my
Yeah.
viewing audience
Yeah.
on Motivation today. But Robb, before we get into that, I want to get up close and personal with you.
Okay.
First, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Minot, North Dakota, so not too far away from here, but
Minot, where is that?
it's out in the middle of North Dakota,
Okay.
30 miles from the Canadian border. Why not Minot? Freezing's a reason, Ron. That's what they say.
Okay,
so.
reason.
Yeah.
Or Minnesota or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right, yeah.
All right. And this is customer motivation. I do this with everybody, so don't be surprised, but I'm going to do it with you, Rob.
Okay.
Can you tell my viewing audience one thing about you that most people don't know, maybe even your wife don't know about you, just one thing?
Well, yes, I can actually. So one of the things that kind of started my life off was I had a very, very troubled youth, and I got into a lot of trouble when I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, and most people wouldn't know that about me because my life looks very different today than it did then.
Okay. In what way is it different?
Well, the trajectory of my life is different. At that time, I was headed to jail, probably to the gutter. And now, my trajectory has been mostly up. Not always, but mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Where did your journey start? Because you're a very successful guy. Can you give us kind of just the beginning of where it all started with Robb?
Sure.
Share that with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for letting me share that. So I started out, my life, I told you, I had a troubled youth a little bit. Most people don't know that about me. And so my first aspiration was to be a youth pastor. So I graduated high school in a kind of a sideways way, but I got through and decided to go to Bible college. And
As a troubled youth, you decided to go to Bible college.
no, I was. Okay. You want to know how the transition happened? I'm sure I'm getting to that.
Okay.
But yes.
I was thinking, how does that work?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So basically, when I was about 15 years old, I got arrested for probably the fifth time, and I found myself in the police station, and my mom was out of town, and so my sister and her boyfriend had to come to pick me up, and she had a new boyfriend, and I didn't really care for the guy because he was kind of a straight-laced dude, and I had gotten to know him a little bit, and so my mom was out of town, like I said. The next day, they bailed me out. It was trouble again. He took me out to lunch, and he took me to this fancy restaurant. Well, we come from not a lot of means. My mom raised 5 kids, a single mom, and so right away I was feeling a little bit out of place, okay? But I had a lot of respect for him because he was a very young man and already very successful, and I liked that. Something about that something about him attracted me.
Do you remember what he was doing for business at that time?
Matter of fact, he's 10 years my senior. So at the time I was 15, he would have been 25. He was the partner in a real estate company, sold real estate and developed real estate already at that age, and did very well, and took me out to lunch, and he said to me something. He asked me a question that really changed my life. He said, Rob, I don't know if you know this or not, but you can be anything you want to be. This is America. And he said, if you want to continue to head down this path that you're heading down, you certainly can do that. He said, but I just want you to know that there's this other path that actually goes in this other direction, and you could head down that path as well, and if you want to, I'd help you to head down that way. And that lunch really was the start of the trajectory change for me.
And what was the path?
Well, it was a long path. But little by little, I got to know him. I ended up, as a result of that arrest, ended up in drug and alcohol treatment. Spent 30 days in there.
Okay. So it took you a while to get to there. Okay.
Yeah. So, but when I got to treatment, he actually there was a Bible there that he had inscribed a message to me in the Bible, and it said something like, I can't remember exactly, but something like, I hope you enjoy what is found within your friend Pat. Yep. And that Bible really was the start of the change. So when I went through drug and alcohol treatment, which is a traumatic experience if you've never done it.
No, but I've
you know,
worked Teen Challenge, so.
yeah, and so, you know, I went through all of that, and to come out the other side of that within a few weeks. If you haven't guessed by now, Pat was a Christian. He had shared his faith with me. She gave me a Bible, and you know, grew up in the church, so I kind of knew how to talk to God a little bit and pray. And so I prayed and I asked Jesus into my life. And
how old were you exactly?
I was still I still was 15. It was late in the school year, but I want to say I was in 9th grade.
So at 15, you asked the Lord to come into your heart.
Yeah.
Did your life change?
Yes, it did, and it wasn't overnight. I still, you know, I was kind of engrossed in this lifestyle. I had a lot of friends that were, yeah, but you know, my friends I love my friends, you know, and they were good, they really were good young people, and even though they had bad, you know, ways of expressing themselves, and so it was hard. I struggled through that, but little by little, God kind of pulled me out of that. I made some tough decisions, left my high school, went to an alternative school to finish high school, and then, of course, I mentioned I enrolled in Bible college, and met my wife in that first year. Actually, I met her between my junior and senior year on my birthday, and that was also a pivotal moment. She really wasn't in that crowd, and it really helped me to stay.
Strong Christian lady?
No, she didn't know the Lord. She didn't know the Lord when I met her.
Okay.
She is today,
Amen.
but at the time she didn't. But God had orchestrated the meeting. Her sister had just come to know Christ in a miraculous way through a divorce and some things, and it wasn't too long, and my wife gave her heart to the Lord as well, and then we kind of grew up together. We've been married 32 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
as of when? 33 years?
As of June 13th, just a few days ago.
All right.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Congrats.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
That's always good.
Yeah.
So, he that finds wife finds a good thing.
Yeah, that's
Vice
right.
versa.
I did, and she's been a real rock for me. So yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So
I didn't plan on telling that story.
Well, that's good. That's like one of those other ones.
Yeah, that's good. That's great.
So you go from there. You have this business that you're running right now, very successful business.
Yeah.
Can you get into that? Because there's so much. You have so much in that I want to hear about. A lot of stuff to share.
Yeah. Well, let me just take you from Bible college to while I was doing that, we went out to the school took me to Tennessee. I decided to move back to Minot. Started working at Sears part-time, and that's really where the business side of things started to come into play. I changed my degree to psychology, and Sears identified me as kind of a high potential, and started to kind of career path me there.
Okay, psychology.
No. I changed my degree to psychology because I went from a Bible college to a state school back in my hometown. So that.
I asked you that because I thought, are you going to be analyzing me now?
Well, I do have what I do today does involve a lot of science.
See, folks, see. Don't we bring the best guest on motivation?
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is great, and it does align with what you're doing. You help with health and fitness, and I try to help with some of these business things, and a lot of it is in our head. So,
I would agree.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where my career started. I got into retail, finished my degree in psychology and business, and spent 11 great years at Sears. 1999, my brother and I launched a wireless phone company. Great timing, right? And I had a great run with that for about 14 years, called City Cellular. Sold just about everybody in the city a phone, I think. We had 50 locations at our peak, and we sold that business in 2014, and that's when I really began this consulting journey. It took me a little bit of time to get to where I am now over the last 5 years, but if you want me to share that a little bit.
Of course, because I'm wondering, how do you go from Sears to your consulting?
Yeah, so Sears to the wireless retail world made a great amount of sense. Now, from selling a retail company to becoming a consultant, that's a big jump.
That's what I'm talking
it's a very different thing. Now, so what happened is that after we sold, wasn't only about 6 months after that, my lovely wife, who I already told you about, contracted a breast cancer. And so I had just sold the business, didn't have a runway to take me to the end of my life, but I had a little bit of time, and I decided to do some caretaking for her. And in that 6 months or year really of hell that she went through, where they burned her, poisoned her, and cut her up. That's how cancer treatment is today. She endured that, came out on the other side with heart failure as a result of the chemotherapy, and So my 6 months to a year of caretaking turned into
Right.
almost 2 years. Now, miraculously, my wife was told at the end of all that she needed a heart transplant. She went into cardiac arrest at one point. She miraculously is doing very well today.
Amen.
Yeah, it's a real miracle story.
It's a good story.
But having gone through that trauma, it really changed my ideas. I always thought, well, I'll just buy another company, start another business, run it. We had lots of employees. I felt like I had learned a few things, and now I wanted to go apply them. But my heart changed in that process, and I realized how much I had missed out on when I was building my company, and how important family was, and how important my church was and my community was. And so I set out to start REV Advisory Group then in the beginning of 2017 to the end, where we launched working with business owners and peer groups. And that's evolved into a full kind of suite of talent selection, talent development solutions, along with business coaching. So it's
Okay, now I'm 65. That's a lot. Can you get in that a little bit? Break that down a little bit.
Yeah. So well, I think the best place to start is talent is kind of a broad word, or people. And so I've always had a propensity to people, studied psychology, did all these business things. And so I ran across a guy, his name is Robb Hiller. He has a company called Performance Solutions of MN. And what he was doing was he was helping companies select people using a science-based approach. He was also helping develop those same people in a very successful way. So what he was accomplishing was he was able to really fit people into a role, which meant that their engagement was going to be high. They would retain longer. They would last longer in the company. So the company wins, the person wins, everybody wins. And I thought that just lines with what I'm trying to get accomplished. So took a 25-year consulting practice, which is what he had. He's mentored me, and we've kind of doing this thing together.
I should hang with you. He connects with all these mentors. I should hang with you.
I do. I like to have a mentor. My belief is that every business owner needs a coach, and every business owner needs a group of peers that are intentionally helping them to move forward.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you promote? First of all, how do you promote your business? How do people hear about you? And what are the steps? And what else do you actually do?
Okay, well, the way I promote my business is really, we really only are working on a referral basis. Try to be selective a little bit about who I want to work with, because I'm not interested in working with business owners that just want to make a bunch of money and burn at the fireplace at night. I want to work with men and women, business leaders that really want to have excellence across all the planes of their life, Ron. And so that's how we differentiate.
Right.
We're a little bit industry agnostic, especially in our peer groups, because we want a diverse group. We get them together once a month for 4 hours. I facilitate a conversation to help them solve issues that they're dealing with. When I owned my business, and then I learned later about this peer group model. I realized what I didn't know. Okay,
Right.
There were so many things I didn't know.
Sure.
And so what the peer group provides is perspective. It provides a broader look at things. And so that's what we do together with my REV Advisory Group members once a month. And then I coach those same individuals one-on-one in between those sessions. And that's the kind of the foundation of my practice.
Right. Can you give me a little sample? Coach me. A little sample.
Yeah, well, okay, you're going to put me on the spot here a little bit. So, okay, well, sure. Well, I would...
Folks, he's watching Motivation. He doesn't know.
This is motivation. You're right. So Ron, here's the thing. 100% of the time when I engage with somebody in a coaching relationship, we start with science, okay? So the first thing I would do is I would have you take a scientific assessment. It's a multi-science assessment. So a lot of coaches... Well, this is something unique about Robb Hiller one of the things that I liked. We'll use a behavioral assessment. They'll get to your DISC, they'll get to your Myers-Briggs, they'll get to your Strength Finders, whatever that might be, and that's really about the how of a person. Well, we use a multi-science approach where we get at some values and driving forces as well. So we have a secondary one for that. We also look at your acumen. That we have a device that can measure the clarity in which you see the world. And then also around 25 soft skills or competencies, because that's really what a business coach or a executive coach is about. It's about developing those soft skills. So we all have kind of three things. We have talents. Those are the things that we're naturally good at. We have soft skills, which are our ability to interact with others and how we can relate and do teamwork and those kinds of things. And then we have hard skills that relate specifically to our job and our industry.
Right.
And so I'm focused really on sharpening talent and building on skills.
Where can I sign up?
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, and so scientific foundation is where we'd start, and then I would dig in and go through a process of trying to help you to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve, set those goals, and then help you move forward towards them.
Okay. I know you talked about there's some differences, but there's so many people out there right now in the market doing similar things. And I'm not
Yes.
even going to name them because I'm not here to talk about
Right.
other businesses. What makes you guys really different? What makes you really, really stand out?
Well, I've already mentioned a couple of them.
Right.
The one thing that I really want to differentiate around is that I really mean it when I say I don't want to work with just anybody.
Right.
And so the other thing would be the science and the 25 years of kind of hard-won reality that Robb brings in terms of the coaching and consulting practice, and then my business experience, both from a big corporate environment at Sears to a small business to a medium-sized business. We were 25 million plus at our peak. So I think what differentiates us is that we're not just somebody who graduated from college with an HR type
Right,
degree,
okay, background.
and but we actually have real world experience. The tools that I'm bringing alongside from Robb and another gentleman that I worked with out in John Perry out in California, around the organizational development side. That these are time tested things that are rooted in our experiences, not just in a theory.
So, Robb, it sounds expensive. Do you have to have a big company to
on the peer group side, no. I work with business owners of all sizes. Obviously, some organization is a lot of times the business's problems start when they can't get their arms around the thing. So when you get to 10 to 20 employees, things start to change in terms of I used to be able to run this thing, and now I need help. And so that's where leadership and those soft skills and those talents really come into play.
Right.
So that's kind of the threshold of that. But I have solopreneurs in my peer groups. They bring values. An attorney, I have a videographer, some others that can add value to the peer group. And then they're getting something for their fledgling practices that they're starting.
Okay, so I don't have to sell my Hammer shirts, right, if I call you?
Well, you might.
I like Hammer. Hammer's an expensive shirt.
Yeah, I know.
And you sound like you probably cost more than Hammer. I'd be like, no more. My wife would probably like that.
I think I never like to think about cost, Ron. I like to think about value.
Exactly.
I can tell you that there is no question that the ROI is there. We can the cost of turnover today. The cost to just acquire an employee today, if you think of the talent side, is astronomical, let alone just being able to get them to want to work with your company. So some of the solutions we provide really help to attract those people as well, because when you do these benchmarking process that we use for a role, it gives the recruiter or the HR department some real meat and potatoes to go out and recruit off of. And then also your company culture really is what attracts the good candidates. And so that's the value we bring.
You seem very passionate about what you do. What brings that passion? Why are you so passionate about it?
Well, this is what God made me. I just love people. And I can tell you that, I said that it was a bit of a stretch for me to go from owning a business and running a business to now consulting with other businesses. I think for me, the reason I'm just enjoying this work so much is that I get to work with people that want to do better, and maybe they're stuck, maybe they're at a plateau, and I get to see them to improve from the business leader standpoint, and then from the executive coaching standpoint, benchmarking standpoint, that's even funner, because now I'm working with those young people that I started my life out wanting to help, and so I can help them to really accelerate their growth and trajectory within their careers.
Well, you're definitely a good speaker, I have to say that.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
How do people get a hold of you?
You know what? We have a website. It's called it's just www.rev-performance.com, and everything you need to know about us is there on the website.
Are you on Twitter, Instagrams, and all that?
Yeah, we have a LinkedIn page. We have a Facebook page. I'm kind of old, so I'm not necessarily out there as much as I should be, but I definitely have a presence there. I've written some articles. Robb's written some articles that you can read, and but the website really is the place to go and see.
Do you have a book on the way or anything like that?
My partner Robb's written one book and is in the. I can tease it a little bit. I won't give a title away or anything, but he's got a very, very good book that's going to be coming out here in the next year. as well. His first book is called Stop Barking and Start Leading, and it's based on his dog Bentley. And so much of our practice is about drawing out of people what is natural for me. And his golden retriever is a great example of someone who lives in their natural style. And so he wrote a great book. It's a great learning tool, and we use it in our practice.
Yes. So how do you balance out, you were talking about your family earlier and how important that is. You seem like a person that is very committed to what you do.
Sure.
How do you balance out the work, family, those things with what you're doing, Rob?
No, that's a really good question. That differentiator I mentioned about the passion for across all the planes of life. I mean, for me, the way that I do that is I try to integrate. I have a home office. I could have an office outside of the home. I like to work out of my house. Is it a little cumbersome sometime? I have an 8-year-old at home. Still, I have 26 and 18 years. I just one at a time. That's the way me and my wife did it. But that part of it, I guess, is another thing. I like, because I'm so people oriented, I try to engage my wife when I can. We do big events twice a year. She's always out there with me at those events. She doesn't has such a high social need as I do, so you might see her in the background.
Is she more introverted?
Yeah, she's more introverted.
Like my wife.
Yeah, exactly. We're opposites, and I don't think there are two more opposite people. Just so you know, and it does work out pretty well for us. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to somebody watching Motivation right now that maybe they feel like they're stuck? They don't really know where to turn or who to turn to. Maybe they can't even afford you.
Sure.
What would you say that might help just to motivate them to actually, take that next step in their life?
Yeah, well, I think the key, and this is maybe I'm biased a little bit, but I think others are really the key to us getting past when we're stuck. Okay, so if we're at a place when where we just don't, we keep hitting this wall, you need to look around you. Say, okay, who's standing next to me? Are these people helping me, hurting me? Do I even have somebody standing next to me? And reach out for a relationship, a conversation. Now, I don't believe that's the best way. Obviously, I think a more intentional relationship in terms of coaching. But most people that are good-hearted, I mean, I'm always giving of myself to others, to help them to get past, and ask for some perspective, ask some good questions, seek out people that can lift you up in this life. I think that's the best advice of somebody who just wants to do one thing.
That's good, and I know everybody is different, but from a corporate standpoint, how long do you think it actually takes for that person that brings your company in for them to actually start seeing that change take place in their company?
Well, we use the word transformation. We want to see some form of transformation, and believe it or not, so I mentioned there's these 3 things. We have talents. They're pretty fixed, Ron. Okay. There's not much you can do outside of sharpen them and start to understand what they are. And then there's soft skills. Those are the other things that we really work on. We don't get into that hard skill side because that's a technical piece. But the soft skills, if we identify, say, emotional intelligence, for example, is an opportunity for somebody. They're struggling with others' awareness or others' regulation. Okay, if we identify that in the science, believe it or not, in 4 months' time, we can get transformation with that person if they're willing to work with us. And we involve stakeholders in their life to do that, to help them because it's hard to measure those things. Am I getting better?
Sure.
And so we'll use stakeholders, significant people in their work environment or at home to give feedback and actually rate so we can measure where they're at and where they went. And believe it or not, within just a short period of time, we get transformation on those talents and some of those other things that, it takes a little bit more time because practice is involved. But the point is that it's about trajectory. It's about keeping yourself moving in a better direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you use some of these techniques even in your personal life on people?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think when you start doing this work, you just are always engulfed in that kind of mindset, right? I think, I thought you were going to ask me, are you applying these to yourself? I think that's probably the hardest thing to do is for me, and I mentioned my mentors. I mean, I need these people around me. As much as I've learned and I've known over the years and I feel like I'm an expert, I need others. I need a coach. I need a peer group. Those are things that I've installed in my own life to continue the trajectory.
And I would say I would agree with you because every week it seems like I'm talking to somebody about how you have to be intentional about your relationships. I met a guy last week and I said, let's go out for coffee or I'll buy you lunch. Never met the guy before. You have to be intentional about relationships. You meet somebody, they're sharp, they have a good attitude. People spend so much time watching TV, checking Facebook, and all this other stuff. Relationships, like anything else, if you want them to grow, you have to be very intentional about them.
Yeah, and it is a commitment. It takes time. And like I said, I'm kind of an extrovert. That's you used the word introvert. So it's easier for me. So if you have a natural tendency to kind of stay inside, you even have to be more intentional about that. And that's where I think peer groups can really help to draw you out. Having a coach can help to draw you out. I'm just, I can't believe I went as long as I did. I think it was 26 years without ever engaging in a formal way. And I think of how much better I could be.
26 years, wow.
Yeah, of just, just in business, prior to doing this. So, yeah.
Well, I say you're hired.
Well, thank you.
Good to hang
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, thanks for
I say
having
hired.
me. Yeah.
You're very sharp, very articulate. I love what you were talking about. I think it's needed, obviously.
Yes.
I have a lot of clients that could use your service, and I think I talked to you about that one time before.
Yeah, likewise.
But they have to be willing to empty their cup, so to speak, and they're micromanaging their business. Their businesses are doing well, but they're not doing as well as their business would do if they had somebody come there that could actually structure and help them.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate you having me today, Ron.
Right, and I appreciate your time, definitely. Folks, you've been watching Motivation with my guest, the one and only Mr. Robb Breding. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Robb Breding. We're going to see you next time on Motivation. Remember, in all that you do, stay fit, stay blessed, and stay motivated. We're going to see you next time on Motivation. Good job.
All right, man. Well, that's
so I'll
great.
just cut
The things that I talk about, I live every single day of my life. I don't believe in bad days. All of that stuff goes with it. I haven't had a bad day in probably 30 years.
Doesn't matter how much money you have, it's how much health you have. The healthier you are, the more you can do, the longer you can do the things that you want to do. You say you can't do it? You say you're too old? I say you can. You are never too old to improve the quality of your life.
You come home not walking in the house like this. Hello, honey. Hello. How's the day? Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to get along, because you don't have any energy. But when you take care of yourself, you walk in the house with that energy. Lucy, I'm home. That's the one thing that you cannot buy, is good health. You have to earn it. Live life with passion, and remember, stay fit, stay positive. Thank you for your time. Give yourself a round of applause for being here. Honestly. Thank you. Thank you.
To book Ron Henderson for your next event, call 612-386-8178 or send an email to ron@fitnessking.com. That's ron@fitnessking.com.